league. So everybody, without further ado, I wish I had a great introduction because he deserves a great introduction. Two-time Super Bowl winner, Mr. Glenn Cadrez. Welcome to the show, Mr. Glenn Cadrez.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for showing up, man. Thanks for being a part of the show. It's fantastic to have you. How you doing? Where are you at right now? And looks like you're enjoying the weather.
I am in my backyard. I am having a little cup of coffee. My daughters are coming into town today, so I'm going to go to the wineries and have lunch. My son has a basketball game in about 2 hours, so just a typical laid-back Sunday for me, or Saturday for me, in sunny California. Although it's not that sunny today, it's actually a little cloudy. So,
well, it looks like you're enjoying it nonetheless. I'm glad that you get to spend some time with the family, and good luck to your son later this afternoon.
Yeah, well, he's a football player, but he dabbles in basketball with his friends, so we'll see how that.
Fair enough. Well, a couple of these faces you may have seen before. My face has maybe got trimmed down a little bit. The beard's a little bit shorter. But I wanted to introduce you to our newest horseman, Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick. He's out of the New York area, Maryland actually right now, but a New York Giants fan. I know that there's another team in New York that you happen to play with. But that being said, I wanted to introduce him in, and he has a couple of great questions, I think, just to even get us started, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Glenn. It's a pleasure to meet you. Very nice to meet you. I've been covering the Broncos with Keith and Trevor and guys for a few months, and my knowledge has really grown for the Broncos. I do have a question for you since it's draft, the draft, third day of the draft. Pre-draft, you were drafted in the 6th round by our Broncos, and I just had a question. On draft day, did you have a large draft party, meaning family, friends, neighbors, etc.? Was it a small party with just immediate family? Were you by yourself? Did you go fishing? What did you do on draft day leading up?
Well, I was drafted by the Jets. I wasn't drafted by the Broncos.
Sorry.
My first 3 years with the Jets. So, they had 12 rounds back then. And the first day was like the first 5 rounds, and then 6 through 12 was the second day. So the first day I had a party with my buddies. We just played poker and barbecued down in Texas, and I didn't think I was going to get drafted anyway. So it was just kind of just another day and just watching the draft like I've always done. And then the next day I was in my apartment. My daughter was 3 months old, 2 months old. And, I was up with her crying, sitting there. I get a phone call. It's about 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. I get a phone call from Miami Dolphins, and they said, we're going to take you 155. We're going to take you blah, blah, blah. And I was like, great, awesome. I got off the phone. Yeah, I'm going to be with Dan Marino and this and that. And so I just sat there watching the draft, and all of a sudden I get another call, and it's the Jets, and they were like, hey, we just drafted you. And I was like, wait a minute. Literally the Dolphins were the next pick. And I was like, are you serious? So I thought I was going to the Dolphins, but ended up with the Jets. It was just me and my daughter, and we were just kind of like I was obviously ecstatic, but no big party, no big media blitz or anything like that. So I kind of went from obscurity to quite a few teams that were saying that they were going to take me in those middle rounds. So I was happy nevertheless.
Thank you for sharing that experience with us and our audience. Keith and Trevor, you want me to keep going, or do you guys want to
I got one real quick, and then I'll go to our good friend Trevor Salzman as well, see if he has one. I just want to know what it was like, that buildup to the draft. It's a lot today. Now these guys are going to academies and camps, and they're getting ready for the combine. They're getting fine-tuned. They have all these agents around them. What was the experience for you, maybe even your teammates, that you saw kind of play out there in Houston?
Well, I didn't go the combine. I was an undersized, what they call now an edge rusher. I was a defensive end, but solid defensive end, all 4 downs. So I wasn't sought after as going in the high picks. Fortunately for me, we had a quarterback, David Klinger, who went, I think, the 5th pick in the draft, and he was maybe like 2nd, 3rd on the Heisman vote. So all these teams that would come visit and come, work him out. One of my dear friends and our strength coach, John Lott, who works with the combine for 27 years or something. The guy with the raspy voice that, come on, meathead, that guy, he was a really close friend, and he would kind of get in their ear and say, hey, this guy's really a tweener. He's putting his hand down at defensive end, but he's 6'2", 240. He's a linebacker. Go test him. And my tests were just, really, really well. I was running a 4.5. I did a 20-yard shuttle in a 3.9, which was like, extremely, extremely good. So I went from really like maybe a free agent to like all of a sudden like, hey, we're going to get you in the 6th round. We're going to get you in the 7th. So I didn't have much time to like, do the draft party and I didn't think I would be drafted. I just kind of, from what I heard, I'd be drafted in the middle round. So I just kind of took it with a grain of salt and just kind of went on with my day,
Very good. Trevor, what do you got for Glenn Cadrez, 2-time Super Bowl winner? We're privileged to have you here, man.
Yeah, thank you again, Mr. Glenn Cadrez, 154th pick overall, 1992, Mr. Glenn Cadrez. I thank you for joining us as always. I love seeing you on screen here and love talking with you. Was there in the draft process? Was there any team that in like a wish list that you had, like destination wise, that you wanted to go to if you were drafted? And whenever you were drafted.
No, I think when you're a 21-year-old kid, you're just so excited, and it's such a dream to be in that league, to be in that presence, and I did not care one bit. Marv Buffalo had flown me out a few times, and Marv was like, look, we're taking you in the 6th round. Here's our picks. Here's your name. We're taking you in the 6th round, which they were like about 6 or 7 picks after 154. So I was excited. They went to 2 Super Bowls, ended up going to 2 more that I would have been a part of. Dan Marino would have been exciting. Obviously, anything on the West Coast would have been great. But my roommate was Jack Pardee, the head coach of the Oilers. So I was, I used to go to the Oiler games. So I thought, if I stayed in Houston, it did not matter to me. I just wanted to put on a helmet and be a pro. And I was just excited about that. So I really had no preference.
Can I just say before we go to Kenny, I think that showed on the field. You were a guy that just wanted to put on the helmet and go play football. It showed through the television screen. I'll say that. And then I'll let Kenny have with another question.
Thank you. Well, thanks. I'm feeling it now, by the way.
Oh, no.
Getting a lot of love and hellos from our audience, Mr. Glenn Cadrez. Again, I appreciate the pleasure meeting you, and thank you for answering some of the questions that we have for you. I had the pleasure of playing alongside one of your teammates in high school, Mr. Wayne Corbett. I believe he played your last year. I went to high school with him. We played high school baseball. We grew up together. I asked him this question off the air. We're friends. We chat every once in a while. And he told me it was Rob Moore was his teammate that helped him. The question I have for you is, who helped you the most, Glenn, as a rookie, transition from the Houston Cougars, which was your college alma mater, to the NFL? Was it a fellow teammate, a coach, a staff member? Who helped you the most, if you don't mind answering that for us?
You know what? That's a good question, and it's kind of layered because I don't want to talk about an organization, but at the time in the early 90s, the New York Jets were really in disarray. They really didn't really get it. They weren't really in my mind. They just didn't do things right. They weren't a professional organization. The players that we had there were very self-centered, and it was all about their new contract. I should be in the Pro Bowl, that kind of thing. It wasn't a team feeling. I did not like my stay in New York the 3 years that I was there. I do have some good friends that I still talk to and consider good friends, and a lot of great guys and good coaches came out of there. Obviously, Pete Carroll and Greg Robinson were, who drafted me. But it wasn't until I walked into the Denver Broncos locker room, and it was a Tuesday that the day we had the day off, but I walked in on a Tuesday and I was going through the locker room, and Steve Atwater walks up, and the first thing he says to me was, "Hey buddy, let's go win a championship." And and I was like, Man, I've never even talked to the DBs with the Jets. You know, it was just a completely different world, and I just felt at home from day one. And I would probably say one of the most influential guys is probably like Tyrone Braxton. He became really tight, and he was a student of the game. Tyrone is like extremely smart, football knowledge, and we would communicate, and it just made my life so much easier. Him and Atwater. So I would probably say those guys were like, you know, I felt like a rookie once I got there, even though I'd been playing for 3 years. I just felt like, wow, I'm finally in the NFL. You know, I'm finally in the pros, and so I would say those guys.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, great story. I'm gonna pull one from one of our great supporters and followers, Mr. Phil McLaughlin. I'll change this: biggest or best. What is your biggest or best memory while playing in the NFL? Do you have one key moment that you can pick out and say that was the key moment that I would highlight, put at the very top of my highlight reel?
Well, probably, you know, the fourth down play in the Super Bowl. You know, they ran a wide sweep, and I kind of came across and forced it in, and me and Traylor tackling for a loss. And, you know, that obviously that was a huge stage. So that's very memorable. Another one that was really memorable was we were playing Seattle, and we used to, and I'm sure you guys know, we used to have a thing where if you won the game, we didn't come in on Monday. So we have Monday and Tuesday off. Well, this game came right before a bye week, so we were going to literally have the whole week off. Mike was going to give us the whole week off. We would have been 6-0, and we got the whole week off. And it was one of those games down in Seattle, and we're in the dome, and we were up by, I think, 4 points, and they were driving, and there was like 3-4 minutes left in the game, and they crossed the 50, and you can kind of feel the momentum. And they ran a 7-man protection drag with Galloway, and we called a blitz. And when I blitzed, I noticed that they had a full 7-man protection. So I was like, well, I know what play they're running. They're running that drag. So I stopped, and I pushed off the guy and waited for Galloway, and I just backed up and just stole the ball and picked it. And so game was over, and everyone was like literally lifting me up, carrying me to the locker room, because they're like, I already bought tickets to Vegas. I already bought tickets back home. Thank God, because we would have had to practice that whole week. And so I was the hero, because everyone got to, you know, keep their travel arrangements and get the week off. So that one really stuck. But honestly, like, I think if you ask every player, I mean, we kind of remember the bad ones more than we remember the good ones. Like, there's plays that haunt me, you know, that just kind of haunt me. Like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do? Man, I should, you know. But those two probably. Don't ask me what are the haunting plays. I'm trying to get them out of my mind.
trying to regress those memories into the back of our mind.
Exactly.
Very good. You know, I got a different question. I know a lot of times it's, you know, our family obviously has to be supportive. I would assume that might have been the case for you, but beyond the family, you know, maybe an unspoken name. Who was a key individual in your progression as a player, and just in your journey, you know, that maybe we don't even know about, you know?
You know, I was absolutely infatuated with football. I mean, I love football. I played it every single day of my life. I knew every player on every team. And you know, this is back in the 70s and 80s, when you didn't have social media where you can really kind of get to know people and follow them and stuff. So it was basically, if the NFL had a film or something, my eyes were glued to it. Yeah. So a lot of these great players, you know, the Staubachs and the Stablers and the Bradshaws and these kind of quarterbacks, and then like Lawrence Taylor, when he got in the league, I was just like, that's what I want to do, you know. So really the NFL kind of raised me in a way that
I like it.
How to prepare myself, how to work, how to have humility and loss, and learn from the loss, and I think the NFL itself was like my biggest influence. I had great friends. I had great friends that believed in me, that were, you know, very supportive. My grandmother was very supportive. So you know, I would probably say I had a mixture of everyone, you know, family, friends, colleagues,
coaches,
teammates, you know, coaches, you know, that and it only takes one, you know. I tell my boys, like, you only have to have one person believe in you, you know, and sometimes it's you. You're the only one, you know, but as long as you have one, it only takes one. So I would.
I was gonna say, just a great answer, man. I like that, man. Sometimes you got to go raise yourself a little bit, you know. And it sounds like you went out there, you were a true student of the game, and learned it all on your own, and kind of developed what it is to be a player in your own mind. I like that, like you said, the humility portion of it as well, because you know losses are going to come, and you know things aren't always peachy and rosy along the way, you know, even when you get to the NFL level. And it sounds like you kind of prepared yourself for that.
And you know, to add to that, you know, and this is going out to like the younger players, you know, just being a football player is the most important thing. Like when I look at a kid and I go out to some of these fields and I look at a kid, I look at, are they a football player? In other words, do they just want to be on the field? When I was in high school, I was playing running back, I was playing wide receiver, I was playing these different positions. And then I got caught from behind one time, and I remember my dad was like, after the game, he's like, "You might want to look at some other positions, you know, like you just got caught from behind, like maybe you're not a running back, you know." And so I was so in love with the game that I just wanted to do whatever. I would have been a kicker. I would have went out there and practiced 3 hours a day trying to kick the ball if that meant that was my chance to get in. So, you know, playing defensive end, and then it kind of helped me because when I was drafted late, you know, you have to make the team on special teams, and all the positions of special teams, which are basically just football positions, you know, like if you're on the punt team, it's like you're an offensive lineman, you're pass setting, you're blocking, you're running down, you're making tackles like a safety, you're, you know, all these different positions on special teams. It's just positions that you play on offense or defense. So I was able to strive in that atmosphere because I was a good football player. I can kind of, you know, do everything. I mean, my 7th year, Mike calls me. I was sitting on the couch in the off season, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, you're going to be our long snapper. I don't want to hear anything about it. Work on it. Get it done. You're our long snapper." Bye. So I'm out there like I'm snapping with my buddy every single day, and that was so nerve-wracking to go to the Super Bowl and snap in the Super Bowl when I haven't snapped since I was like in junior college. That was a very intimidating factor, but for the young guys, you know, hey, get in where you fit in, man. Just play football. You know, you know, it's blocking, it's tackling, it's running, it's enthusiasm, and whatever you do, whatever position, have that in mind when you take on that position.
Get in where you fit in. You're going to be long snapper. I don't want to hear about it. Wow. Trevor, another question for Glenn before we let him go and let him enjoy the rest of his day. Thank you again, Glenn, for spending some time with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I mean, again, Glenn, you spent 11 seasons in the NFL. What does it take? Because you have a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And for some of these young players that are looking to get drafted either today, you know, and then throughout this week, and then in the future, what does it take to have a long career in the NFL? Because you have a lot of ups, a lot of downs. How do you kind of get through all that to be able to play and have a long career like you had?
Well, I think a lot of it's there is a little luck, you know. I mean, I did have two knee surgeries in each knee. But you know, it wasn't the Mark Schlereth knees that, you know, you're used to seeing. It was some scopes and some patella tendon and this and that. But I think just like what I talked about before is just having that passion for the game itself and willing to do whatever it takes to be on the field. You know, I know a lot of guys that were a straight blocking, you know, the fullback position. That's a position where you just, you know, it's not a lot of glory, but you're just a souped up offensive lineman that you're out there on the perimeter making blocks and this and that, but just doing whatever it is that can keep you on the field. There were years where we kept 5 linebackers because I played Mike, Will, and Sam, and I had played them, you know, started at that position and played the whole season at them. So we were able to like have me back there, go in at third down situations. But if any of the guys went down, I can just step in and, you know, and fill the role. So you don't really kind of pigeonhole yourself into one position. At least for me, that's how I made it, was being a jack of all trade, master of none, I guess.
Hey, making sure that you're valuable, and that's the big thing. Making sure that you have value somewhere on the roster, and special teams, especially for those young guys. That's where they had to kind of earn their way on and get their opportunity a little bit further. Mr. Patrick Wilsey, I want to throw this one out real quick. Joins us. He says, "What do you miss most about your playing days?"
I definitely miss the players, my team. We're on a 30-man text chat, that we still chime in and talk crap about each other and tell us how good we were and talk about how, but you know what? There's so much love on that thing. It's like everyone is always like, I love you guys. You guys changed my life. You guys, we did it, and those 3 words are like the best 3 words in the world when it comes to sports is we did it. If you could say at the end of the day, we did it. And we were able to do that. And that's what I miss, the locker rooms, the plane rides, that kind of stuff. As far as the football goes, and I sure love watching it, but I sit there and go, oh man, that one hurt. Like I'm still, I get pains just watching it, but I would love to be able to run around and hit people again. But I mean, your body just kind of nowadays, it's like, if I get a game of racquetball in when I don't get hurt, I'm happy. So, that mindset's changed, but having that kind of bravado when you walk on a field and be like, we're going to beat you, we're the best team, and and these are my boys, and we're all together. I miss that. That would be great to go back and have that experience again.
I'll be honest, you got to do it longer than any of us. So even me, I wish I could go out there and put on some pads and hit a guy just one more time, because I enjoyed it so much. But my days are way past it, just like yours. We'll be both regraduating to pickleball more likely than we'll be out on the field. I'll go ahead and go to Kenny. I'll get one more question. We'll let you out of here if that's okay, sir.
Thank you again, Glenn. I got one final question for you. I hope you don't mind me asking. I think it's a fun one. I'd like to know for our audience, which opposing running back gave you the most fits throughout your career? Then you pat him on the back and say, I'm going to get you next time.
I because I was such a fan growing up in California, I was such a fan, and I just admired his game so much, and he was so tough. I mean, he can do it all, but probably Marcus Allen. I mean, he could just do things out of the backfield. He was tough as nails when he blocked you. You couldn't get a good shot on him. I mean, he just did everything like it seemed effortlessly. He just was smooth, everything he kind of did, and I was a fan as well. So I really enjoyed the days of playing against Kansas City and Marcus Allen being out there.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's tough to pick that guy that you like you said, that let me put the bad memories behind me. Those are the easy ones, But I do have one. A couple of people have asked, and I think it's only worthy. Please give us an Elway story, or do you have an Elway story? Do you have one Elway story before we go? It's such a legend, obviously, for Broncos country. I'm sure you get asked quite a bit.
You should have prepped me on this one. I would have went back in the archives and thought of something. Let's see, off the top of my head, it's tough. You know what? I don't really have one off the top of my head.
It's okay. Well, how about if we have you back at some point? We'll prep you for the next one.
Hey, we're family, Bronco family. I'd come back anytime. I would. I don't have one. I will have one next time for you. I will have. But let's see. I'll tell you one about.
They're saying or Romanowski if you had one of those right off the top of your head. That's an easier guy, a different character. I don't know if they're all rated for this particular program, but
yeah, they're
After
like
hours.
I have to think back on that one too. You know, the
All
only
right.
thing that kind of comes to my mind, and he's a super hot topic right now, is Sharpe, and I'm. That's another story, and I wish
we won't go down that path.
And I hope that everything works out. And he's, Sharpe was a great teammate and great guy, and I think people that know him know he's he was a good guy. But do you remember that? Storm we had? I think in '97 or '6 or something like that.
Yeah.
That where we were getting guys with snowmobiles and we were picking them up, and everything was shut down and there was cars stranded on the freeway and the airports were completely closed. Well, we played Buffalo that week. And so we're in the locker room and like Sharpe was just on his soapbox, just going like going to preaching to everyone, this isn't right. They shut down the airports. We're risking our lives. We cannot do this. We cannot, and he's like preaching like he's doing a sermon, Sharpe, how animated he is. And he's like, and if we stand together and we say we're not doing it, we can't do this and blah 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 blah. And then someone pops his head in and goes, Mike said we're ready, and he goes, okay, Mike, I'll grab the bag. And we're all just laughing like, dude, wait a minute, you were all fight the power a minute ago, and like now you're like. So that was a funny story, but
that's great. Ready to start the picket line. Next thing you know, coach says we're ready. Let's go, Mike.
Yeah, Mike says we're ready. Let's go. We get on the bus, and we were the only flight that left out of that airport. There was no one even at the airport, and we got there to play against Buffalo, and that kind of shows how big the NFL is. I mean, people are going to wake up on Sunday, and they better see their teams playing. So no matter what, but yeah, that was a fun, but he's a great guy. I hope everything works out on that whole thing, and he's one of our guys. But anyway,
he's one of those guys, man. He's one of those guys that are unique to Broncos country and unique to the NFL. Just one of those guys like you, Glenn, that can sit out there, say they're not only a Super Bowl champion, but a two-time Super Bowl champion. And thank you for spending the time, for taking time out of your day on NFL draft day where we're sitting there trying to cover all the different teams. It's an interesting day for us, but again, you taking time, we appreciate you so much. We can't wait to have you back, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. Anytime. I think I'll be back. I'll definitely be back for a couple games, and I'm gonna maybe make that golf tournament in June, I think. So
nice.
Yeah, hit me up anytime, and I'll bring some of the guys on with me. Maybe they'll have some stories, but then there's stories about me, so I don't know if I want to.
Choose your friends wisely.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Well, have a great day. Again, have fun at the wineries. Have fun enjoying the basketball game, and can't wait to have you on again.
All right, guys. Take care, man. Go Broncos.
Pleasure meeting you.
Go Broncos. Mile high salute. We're out of here, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Mr. Glenn Cadrez. I mean,
awesome.
Love the story.
Yeah. Applause from Mr. Glenn Cadrez.
I know